Well, ladies and gentlemen, one half of our main event for Arena Grappling versus Series 7, the man himself returning to the arena cage, Luke Staley. Luke, happy fight week. Happy grapple week. How you doing?
Yeah, grapple week. Thank you, Jake. Thanks for having me on. I'm treating this like an MMA fight, honestly.
I mean, you got
The
the cage.
preparation that goes into it. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think the cage benefits me by far more than anyone on the arena grappling roster. I think the only other person who it benefits as much is David Romano, and mad respect to that dude. But I dominated him on the fence, and he's the only other one who I'd be worried about. So yeah, I definitely like the cage format. And I think that'll be a big advantage in my match this weekend.
And we'll talk a little bit more about the format in a minute here, but I just want to cut right to the chase. The opener everybody cares about, man, is the main event. It's you versus Andrew Cockle. Great grappling match. How do you feel about Andrew, first of all, because he's picking up quite a name for himself?
Yeah, man, he's elite. I mean, he had the finishers belt. He's on Flow Grappling. He's on UFC Fight Pass. He's on Fury. He was the finishers champ. Only lost in a competitive match to Tackett. No slouch there. He was just on the Eddie Bravo Invitational. He's an elite black belt, and I have a lot of respect for him, and that's why I took this match. Obviously, I split my time between professional mixed martial arts and being a new dad and pro nogi. But I only get to compete, like I said in our promo, a few times a year at high level nogi. So when I do take these matches, I need to make them count, right? I'm not like Cockle who doesn't do MMA. He just does jujitsu, just does nogi, and he's competing like every weekend against a variety of good opponents. But for me, who only gets to compete 2, 3 times a year, when I do compete, I need to make it count, right? I need to make my wins move the needle forward as much as 2 or 3 wins for someone who's competing every weekend, right? So I wanted the biggest fish they had. I don't know if there is the DM. I'll send a screenshot to you. But my initial introduction to arena grappling is the promoters reaching out, this and that, offering me some names. And I just said, who is the toughest guy you currently have on your roster? And they said, oh, probably currently David Romano. I was like, that's the only match I'll accept. That's the only one I want. And now I said, who's the toughest match you got? For me, there's 3 people who I think are at the top of that heap. It's myself, it's Kyle Hughes, and it's Luke Chamois. Those who I think are the 3 best grapplers. So I'm like,
They're great.
it's Luke or it's Andrew. And Oh yeah, Kyle Hughes, Luke Chamois, and Andrew Cockle, obviously, and myself in there. Andrew is probably at the top of my list of those 3. So that's who I want to take on. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's a top dog fight for sure. And like, what can fans expect to see as far as your two styles clashing up against each other?
Dude, it's unstoppable force versus immovable object. Um,
Love it.
I like his physicality in jujitsu. The whole Wagner Rocha t-shirt, make jujitsu violent again. But one of Andrew's big advantages is he goes out and he treats it like a fight. He's slapping people with collar ties. He's diving on flying submissions. He's throwing his head up against, people's jaws when he's getting head position and stuff like that. And Andrew has some advantages in this match, but one of the ones that he doesn't have is physicality. There's just no way he's going to be able to match mine. Is as good as he is, and as he does have advantages in some of the sport jiu-jitsu areas, there's just no way he has a physicality advantage over me, who's been in the cage competing in full contact, professional level mixed martial arts. So it's going to be a war. We're going to try to hurt each other. It's going to be fast paced. We both like to weaponize pace. And I think it'll be the Jiu Jitsu Magazine match of the night, if I do say so myself.
And I'm actually interviewing Andrew in a few hours here today. So when I do this, I like to ask each other, is there anything you want me to tell Andrew for you? Any messages you want me to relay?
Oh man, that's a good question. I'm not a big smack talker. I should be. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna beat him. I think I'm gonna beat him. That's That's about it. I don't know. I'd probably do better if I heard his response first.
I don't know who's gonna win, man. And it's
Yeah,
because I
we're
haven't
both
seen you in person yet.
really, really hard to submit.
Cool styles almost coming at each other. So I'm excited for it. You're an MMA
Yeah,
fighter and he's a aggressive grappler. So that's a good mix.
I like that he's a little mean.
He's a character. He comes out with the rooster mask. He's a funny guy. And
Yeah.
it's going to be a good one. So about you for a little bit, tell me where you're training. Tell me who you're training with. Who are your coaches, partners, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, I train at Bauer House MMA. It's a really good jiu-jitsu gym out in Frederick, Maryland. It's a world-class jiu-jitsu room. Our head coach, Chris Bauer, elite black belt. It was 2021. He went on the competition circuit, the Pans, the Worlds. He was the number one IBJJF Masters 2 black belt in the world.
Damn.
Number one IBJJF black belt in the world at lightweight. Well, not that IBJJF is the end all be all, but overall, I think, especially after watching Worlds this year, that is where the majority of the best competitors in the world are for sport jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
There are some, good guys on the pro nogi scene, the Tackett's, obviously, the Craig Jones, the Felipe Penas. But for a overall roster, I think it's, for now at least, still IBJJF.
Ooh.
But it's a murderer's row. I mean, that room is full of killers. We have open mat 7 days a week. It's a competition-based gym. It's a extremely tough room. And I carry a ton of confidence from that training into this match.
Are you going to return to MMA anytime soon? It's been since.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say next. I myself am not really considered a jiu-jitsu guy. The jiu-jitsu community is very I think they think of themselves as exclusive sometimes. And
little snooty,
a little snooty,
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And that's okay, because there are a lot of MMA guys who get one submission MMA and call themselves like a jiu-jitsu expert.
Sure.
They're two different sports, man. And I think one of the things was, I sort of came onto the Nogi scene, a couple of things here and there, local stuff, Riverfront fights, Fury Pro Grappling, Guard Invitational, Arena Grappling, but they're kind of just like Fury Pro Grappling. I guess that's not local. That was a pretty big card. But they're sort of like, who's this like Staley guy? It's kind of this MMA guy. He's not really like a sport jiu-jitsu guy, placed in an IBJJF tournament here or there. But I don't think people see me as like an elite level grappler. I mean, be honest. Who did you think was going to win between me and David Romano?
Oh, back then?
Yeah.
Dave Romano, I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, of course, And so I feel like I'm just starting to kind of enter that regional circuit of really good Nogi grapplers. I mean, I've always known my skill, but I feel like I'm just starting to pop up on the radar for some people. It's like, who is this guy? He's pretty good, And so again, whether I return to MMA or not, man, I'm still praying about it. Just had my first daughter, risk of brain damage. That's a conversation for another day. But to answer your question, I do want to say this. My plan after mixed martial arts ends, whenever it is to go full out in jiu-jitsu.
Well, dude, I'm telling you right now, AJ, Joseph, who runs Arena, the whole crew, very excited for you and Andrew. And we've all been texting about it. The hype is certainly in the air.
I love the format of Arena Grappling. Again, I have by far the most professional MMA experience, 3 5-minute rounds in a cage. Just the format of that competition. But with the resets in between rounds, I just don't see me or Andrew getting a submission in this first 2 rounds. I mean, that dude is not going to tap. I'm planning on putting him to sleep.
You're getting me excited.
I'm planning on putting him to sleep or breaking his leg. A free main event for the ages. We're throwing down.
Enough said. Luke Staley.